basically talk about telepathy, share the different techniques, how does it work, how do they communicate with us, and how do we communicate back, and then we'll do a series of exercises to help them understand and get ready. Because one of the things that we need to do is really allow ourselves to relax. We need to relax our minds and our bodies. And we'll go through that. We'll actually do a telepathic exercise with people, which absolutely floors them because they can't believe that they can actually do this without talking verbally. And then in the afternoon, we'll communicate with 3 of my animals here. And we'll ask them questions that they have no idea what the answers are. And when they get it, you should see it, huge smiles on their face. And because their information that they get is very specific, and there's no way that they could have known what they got beforehand. And then the second day, what we do is we do it long distance. Everybody brings photos of their animals. They exchange photos, and they get to do this long distance, knowing that it's sometimes easier than doing it with a person, with an animal in person. So it's a great confidence-building workshop. So people begin there, and sometimes that's all that people want to do. But if people want to continue on, that's where I started developing, 24 years ago, the certification training program, and it's the only one of its kind in the field.
Have you traveled to other countries and checked out animal communication trainings and experts and people in the realm of what you do around the world?
I haven't so much checked other people out. They have, we have emailed each other occasionally, and we'll talk about, our belief systems, or maybe share some cases periodically. But I have traveled, because my book is in Europe as well. So I've been to England several times. I've been to Finland, Holland. I'll be going to Germany in October. And next year I'll be in Switzerland. And one of my students is trying to organize me to get to Japan and Hong Kong. So, I go wherever the need is. And then I travel all throughout the United States. I've been, just about everywhere. And again, doing these workshops so people can understand they've had this ability, and what I'm doing is coming along and helping them be more aware of it and understand how it works for them. So the training program is really for those people who want to do this on a professional level, so that they learn all of the different aspects of animal communication, which there are many. So it's an 18-day program over 300 hours, and it takes about 1.5 to 2 years to finish it. And they have to do 64 case studies. So it's quite intense, but it needs to be, because people really need to know that this is a profession, and they need to be trained in it. It isn't. And what's happening, unfortunately, people are doing 2-day workshops, and because they get what they call a few hits, they feel that they can do it. And by no means can they. They don't know what they don't know, And those people can be quite dangerous in the field because they have no boundaries. They can project onto the client. They may be talking to someone totally different and really not that animal. So,
are there techniques that you have in your training to make sure that they're grounded in the direct communication telepathically with that animal?
Oh, you betcha. In every case that they must do, before they even communicate with the animal, they just have to sit with the animal and get what I call the core essence, or the personality. And they have to come up with words that best describe that animal. Is that animal a clown, a nurturer, teacher, philosopher, curious, explorer, whatever. And then they have to ask that animal to share their likes and dislikes, what their home looks like, things that they have to get validated by that person to convince that person, to test themselves, and to certainly convince me that they are truly, truly connected with the right animal.
This telepathic ability is a faculty that is either getting developed or it's not, right?
It does exist,
Yes.
It's existed for eons. We don't really, just like in our telepathic exercise that we do person to person here, we don't need to talk, and people do this with people all the time. And I'll say, if you're at work, a friend of yours came by And you said, how you doing? And the person said, oh, I'm fine. And they walked away, and you're left with the feeling of, boy, that person, I don't know, they're saying they're fine, but I don't feel that they're okay. I felt this about them or whatever. Later on, at lunchtime, the person comes by and says, you want to go for lunch? You go for lunch, and the person says, I just didn't want to talk about it when I saw you this morning, but there is something going on with me. And there's that validation. There's that validation. You already felt it from the person. So, again, what happens is we just have to become more aware of our intuition and be more trusting of ourselves. And that's where when we get validation from the person who has that animal that we're practicing with, that's our confirmation to know that I am really connected,
What happens when your student's wrong? Do they lose their confidence?
In the beginning, there is a space to be wrong. But sometimes, unfortunately, what happens is the person, their personality is such that they have to be right all the time. That person is going to take a longer time to develop because they want to be so right. They're not allowing themselves to be that relaxed, to know that there is an education in also making mistake. And I tell them, use it. Meaning, when you make a mistake and you are off, simply go back to what it was like. Retrack your steps. Go back and go, okay, when I got this and it was accurate, how did it feel in my body? When I got this and it was inaccurate, how did it feel? What was I doing? Did my energy move up into my head? Did I start trying too hard? Was I starting to drift into my own thought? You can retrack and really go back to what were you doing. That is huge. That's a huge learning curve because now we get to see what does it really feel like to me when I'm truly connected and what is it like when I'm off, so that we can constantly stay focused, which is, it's hard to do because we as human beings process 40,000 thoughts a day. And I tell people, we don't even need to engage in conversation with anybody else because we're having a great time by ourselves, But, so what we need to do is right there is a great learning curve in what do I do to reduce the number of thoughts that I have so that I can certainly listen to what an animal has to tell me. And, I encourage people, maybe meditate if that helps you relax. And reduce your number of thoughts. Or maybe you walk in the park. Maybe it's Tai Chi. Maybe it's yoga. But explore, what works for you. Because what happens is when an animal, if we compare ourselves to a telephone and the animal tries to ring us up telepathically and send us a message, usually, unfortunately, what the animal gets is a busy signal. Because we're on the phone all day long, And so I tell them we need to get off the phone so that we can hear them. They're talking to us a lot, all the time. People get those stares, and they'll say, I know, my dog just sits there, cocks his head, and just looks at me. And she's like, I know she's trying to tell me something, I just can't get it, And for people to know that, it's more challenging to communicate with our own animals because we know them so well. And we're emotionally connected, just like a doctor, won't do surgery or won't do, medicine on their own family members because they're too close. Psychics don't usually work with their own family members because they're too close. Eventually we can get, through that, but in the beginning it's really challenging to do that.
We live at a time also where being a medical intuitive, this ability to see into the body, the obstructions or difficulties that are happening in the body, disease manifestations, it's getting out there that this realm exists.
Yeah.
And so when you're working with vets, are they kind of underground? They don't want their clients to know that they're consulting you regarding this, quote, patient, this animal? Is it still pretty much kept under wraps because it's still not mainstream yet?
Yes and no. It really depends on the level of security of that veterinarian. If they are very secure in their work and in themselves personally, they would have no problem expressing that. And it's such a great education for them to be doing that. And then there are other vets that wouldn't even consider